Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reviewing DAOKO's third album, Shiteki Ryoko. Before we get started, I want to remind you that this is simply my opinion on the album, and if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. DAOKO is a Japanese singer that was recommended to me last year when her album Thank You Blue came out, and I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it, so I was quite looking forward to this new album called Shiteki Ryoko, aka Private Trip being the official English title for this one. This album, even with 10 songs, isn't too short and goes around the 45 minutes mark, which I was quite pleased because I ended up loving this one. Shiteki Ryoko is an album that deals with some electronic music overall, and I would say with almost some fairly modern J-pop sound to it that feels quite at home for the last few years. And in a way, this album made me feel like DAOKO's sound is quite diverse, and I would say if you enjoy Shiina Ringo's work, you might want to check out DAOKO and give her a try because they do share some similarities that I quite enjoy, such as their music shifting abilities, and for example the song Oide Oide has a strong jazzy vibe to it. That this is the one actually that made me think of Shiina Ringo, because I was like, I could see Shiina singing on this one. And however, unlike Shiina, I think DAOKO adds a lot of electronic elements to her music. But even so, the rest of the album does go in directions that you never really expect. And it's mostly a pop electronic album, but it also feels like it adds elements from other music genre quite well, and it's pretty much a blend of a lot of things together that create this quite peculiar and really enjoyable album. Even at the beginning, I wasn't too sold on DAOKO because her type of voice isn't really one that I like. I prefer more sultry and lower voices, and high-pitched voices are really not my cup of tea, but she does play with how high and low her voice can go, and overall she never got annoying on me, and I think it's because this album feels really clever, especially in the way that it allows her voice to shift, and also the melodies all feel fresh and really well engineered to both complement her voice but also have their own personality on this album. And this one really feels like the embodiment of what J-pop is nowadays. You get a more traditional sound, like on the song Chocho ni Natte. Then there is a featuring with dear old Nakata, who has been on quite a good form this year with his work with Perfume and Kyari Pamu Pamu. Although I feel like the song he collaborated on with DAOKO, Bokura no Network, doesn't quite fit with the album and with me because it feels more like a Kyaru Pamu Pamu reject. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the song, it's not bad, but as part of the album it does feel very off to me compared to the overall sound the album has. We also get the solo version of Uchiage Hanabi, which is the hit song that got DAOKO to gain more popularity in Japan. And I mean, it's definitely a tactic to get more people to buy this album, which is fine. I like the song, and I do enjoy the solo version, maybe a bit more than the original. I also love the song Nice Trip, which ends the album on such a dreamy electronic pop note. I actually really adore it. It's soft and yet quite powerful, and also there's something about the bridge part that I want to talk about because it reminds me of something very silly, but there are like 10 seconds that sound straight out of a Legend of Zelda game. Like this sound when enemies attack you, and every time I hear it in this song I just think of Zelda. That's how I can think about it every time, because it is such a distinct sound, and if you do notice it, let me know what you think of that in the comments. There is this emerging sound right now in modern J-pop that feels like a blend of indie music finding its way into a more mainstream audience. And just like Wednesday Campanella, even Vicky Blanca, DAOKO is a good example of this wave of new artists in Japan who try a lot of things and sounds and have very strong musical identities that set them out of the more classical J-pop that we all know and love. But I do like that it's getting more diverse and a bit more and more bold, and that's why an album like Shiteki Ryoko feels just right. And honestly, I had such an amazing time listening to it, especially because I had such a big music hangover that lasted a good 12 days. I couldn't review anything or really listen to any new releases. And then when I listened to this album, it felt refreshing and I felt like my ability to review came back. So that's a lot thanks to it. And that's also why I give this album 4 stars. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to tell me what you think of the album down below and I'll see you next time.